In the cold streets of planet Ferian, no one looked twice at her. She walked with her head down, her long gray hair covering most of her face. Her name didn't matter. No one asked. No one cared. To everyone, she was just the filthy Mare. She was not fully alien. She was not fully human. She was something in between, a hybrid. And in this part of the galaxy, that was considered shameful. Children threw stones at her. Shopkeepers refused to sell her food. Guards laughed when she passed by. Even stray animals had more respect than her. She lived in the lower sectors, where the light never touched the ground. Broken buildings, leaking pipes, and smoke filled the air. People here were forgotten. But even among the forgotten, she was the lowest. Why? Because her mother was a human lover, or so they said. They never knew the real story. One cold morning, something strange happened. She was standing near the transport docks, hoping to find leftover food or maybe a dropped credit chip. Cargo ships landed and took off every few minutes. The place was loud and dangerous. A small alien child ran too close to a landing platform. A heavy supply container was falling. No one noticed except her. Without thinking, she jumped forward. She pushed the child away and fell hard on the ground. The container missed them by inches. People screamed. Some rushed to the child. No one came to her. She lay there, breathing heavily, her arms bruised, her back sore. The child's mother picked up her son and looked at her. Not with thanks, but with disgust. "You touched him," the woman shouted. "You filthy Mare." A few others joined in, shouting the same name. Some even kicked dirt at her. She sat up slowly, her body shaking. She didn't cry. She never cried anymore. She just got up and walked away. But someone had been watching. From a distance, a man in a dark coat had seen everything. He was tall, with calm eyes. His name was Commander Rain, a human diplomat visiting Verian. But more than a diplomat, he was a war hero. Unknown to many. He had once fought beside a brave alien soldier, a woman who looked a lot like this, Mare. That woman had saved his life, and now her daughter, yes, he was sure, had just saved another. That night, as the city slept, she sat alone in her tiny room. The walls were metal sheets. Rainwater leaked through the ceiling. Her stomach growled, but she had no food. A knock came. She froze. No one ever knocked on her door. No one ever came here. She opened the door slowly. It was him, the human. She looked up, confused, ready to shut the door. But his voice stopped her. "You don't belong in the dirt," he said softly. "You're coming with me." She didn't move. Her mind couldn't understand. Was this a trick? A joke? He extended his hand. "Trust me." No one had ever said that to her before. Not once. She followed him. The ride was silent. She kept looking around, waiting for guards or chains or a trap. But nothing happened. He took her to the upper levels, places she had only seen in dreams. Clean streets, bright lights, real air. He opened the door to a house, warm lights. A table, a chair, a soft bed. "A real kitchen. Sit," he said. She sat slowly, unsure. He placed a bowl of food in front of her. She stared at it. "Eat," he smiled. Her hands shook. She hadn't eaten real food in days. Maybe more. She took a bite. Then another. Then tears fell from her eyes. He sat across the table, watching quietly. "Why?" she asked. "Because you saved someone," he said. "Because someone once saved me." She looked up at him, confused. "I knew your mother," he said. "She was not a disgrace. She was a hero." Her hands stopped moving. He stood up and walked to a shelf. He picked up a small holochip and placed it on the table. A light blinked. A hologram appeared. A woman. Tall, proud in a soldier's uniform. Her eyes, her smile. It was her mother. The one she had almost forgotten. The image faded. "Your mother was the bravest soldier I ever knew," the man said. "And you are her daughter. The girl sat frozen. She had no words. For the first time in years, someone had called her something more than filthy mare. He stood by the door. "Rest, you're safe now." She looked around the room. For the first time, she felt warmth. Not just from the heater, but from something else. Hope. She whispered to herself. Safe, and outside the window, the city lights burned on. But everything had just changed. Asterisk. The door closed behind her. Silence filled the room. No insults, no rocks, no names, just quiet. She stood still near the entrance, unsure if she should sit or run. The walls were clean. The floor was warm. A soft light touched everything gently. He walked past her without saying anything. Not cold, not kind, just calm. He placed something on the table, a towel, a soft robe, and a small packet of medicine. She didn't move. She had seen traps before, kindness that turned cruel in seconds. He looked back. Once your hands are hurt, clean them. Then he walked into another room and left her alone. She stood there, still breathing, like she was hiding, still waiting for a shout or a slap. But nothing came. So slowly, she stepped forward. Her hands touched the towel. It felt real, not stolen, not broken. Real. She cleaned her cuts. The warm water stung, but it also felt alive. Then she looked around. One room, one table, one chair, one bed, enough for one person. But he had brought her here. Why? He returned with a cup, hot liquid, smelled like herbs and something sweet. Drink, he said. She took it with shaking fingers. The cup warmed her palms, like a fire she had never known. He sat across from her, said nothing, watched her carefully, not like she was an object, not like she was a monster, but like she was someone. She sipped slowly. Her eyes never left his. Finally she asked the question, "Why are you doing this?" He leaned back, his voice steady. "Because I remember your mother." The cup almost slipped from her hands. That name, that ghost. You knew her. He nodded. "We fought together, a long time ago. She was braver than anyone in my squad. And smarter. She once saved my entire unit." And Mesh couldn't speak. Her throat felt tight, like a memory was crawling up from the dark. "She died. They told me she died a coward, a traitor. They lied," he said without pause. "She died protecting children in the last siege. Human children, alien children, didn't matter to her. She died with honor, and they buried her like trash." The girl looked down, her hands trembling. "So I'm the child of a hero, but they call me filthy mare." He nodded slowly. "They wanted to erase her. So they erased you too." She looked around the room again, her voice soft like air. "Are you going to keep me here?" He smiled gently. "No, but I'm giving you a choice. Stay, rest, be treated like a person, or go back out there where they spit when you walk by." She didn't answer. Her heart was too full. He stood. "I'll bring food soon. Your body needs healing." She watched him walk toward the kitchen, his back straight, his footsteps slow. She didn't trust him. Not yet, but she didn't leave that night. She sat on a real bed under a real blanket, listening to the silence, and for the first time the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt like peace. The room smelled warm, like food cooking slowly, like safety. She stood near the wall, arms close to her chest, eyes watching the man move across the kitchen. He didn't rush, didn't shout, didn't ask questions. Moved like someone who had done this before, not just for himself, but for others. He placed a bowl on the table. Steam rose from it, thick stew, pieces of root vegetables, chunks of soft bread on the side. He pulled out the chair, sat down, then looked at her eat. She didn't move. She had eaten from trash bins, from half-rotten cans, from handouts dropped in disgust. This felt like a dream with too much light. She stepped forward. Slowly her fingers brushed the spoon, then pulled back. "Is this really for me?" He nodded once. No tricks, no price. Sat down. Her hands were still dirty, her nails still broken, but she picked up the spoon anyway. One bite, it burned her tongue, but it also melted something inside her. A memory maybe of a time before the streets, before the slums, before the name Mare. She kept eating, quiet, careful, not wasting a single drop. He didn't speak. He just watched her. Not like she was strange, not like she was broken, like she was someone who mattered. Halfway through the meal, she paused. Her voice came out small, rough, from Years of silence, do you really know who I am? He looked her in the eyes. I'm not what they say you are. You're not trash, not a beast, not a mistake. You are your mother's daughter. She looked down at her bowl. The last spoonful sat untouched. What? Was she like my mother? He leaned back, eyes focused on the ceiling, voice soft like a story being remembered. She was fearless. She argued with generals. She laughed in the face of danger. She once carried a wounded soldier on her back for 2 miles. Through enemy fire, that soldier was me. Her heart twisted. She tried to imagine that woman, brave, strong, alive, but all she had ever known was the shame. They say she betrayed the council. They say she ran with humans to hide her crime. He shook his head. Slowly, they lied. She exposed corruption inside their ranks. They wanted her dead, so they made her a villain, and when she gave birth to you, they made you one to her. Hands curled into fists, but not from fear, from something sharper, anger. You believe me? She asked. He smiled. I was there. I saw the truth, and I've waited many years to find you. Why? Because your mother saved me. And because no one deserves to live without dignity. She blinked slowly, felt something hot behind her eyes. She wiped it away. Quickly, no tears. Not now. What do you want from me? Nothing, he said, only that you rest, and remember you are not alone anymore. The silence returned, but it felt different. Not heavy, not cold, like something healing had begun. She finished the last bite, stood up slowly, looked around the room one more time. This doesn't feel real, he nodded once. It is, and it's only the beginning. The night was silent, but her mind was not. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands wrapped around her knees, eyes staring at the floor like it held answers. He had spoken of her mother, a soldier, a hero, a name erased from history. Could it be true? She didn't know how to feel. Pride felt heavy in her chest, but so did anger. The door opened quietly. He stepped in, held something small in his hand, a metal box, old, scratched but clean. She looked up. What's that? Your mother's memory capsule. Her breath caught. Where did you get? He kept it since the day she died. She gave it to me with her last breath. He placed it on the table, tapped the side gently. A flicker, a light, then a voice. If you are watching this, then I am gone. It was her mother, alive and light, eyes filled with strength, hair tied back, armor still dusty from battle. I fought for peace, not for flags, not for species, for peace. They called me a traitor because I refused to stay silent. They wanted war, one wanted truth. Her voice cracked slightly. Not from fear, but from love to my daughter. If you see this, you are stronger than you know. They will try to break you. They will try to shame you, but your blood carries fire, and no lie can ever kill that. The image faded. Silence returned. She sat frozen, heart pounding, hands shaking. That was her voice. Her real voice. She looked up at him. Why didn't you show this earlier? You weren't ready. Now you are. She stood slowly, walked to the mirror, saw her reflection. The same eyes, the same fire. I hated her for dying. I hated myself for surviving. That's normal, he said gently. But hate is not the end. It's the beginning of truth. She touched the mirror, her fingers cold, her soul awake. They lied to everyone, and everyone believed them. She turned toward him, face calm, voice steady. I want to know everything. All of I've nodded. Then sit and listen. The night stretched on. He told her stories, missions, battles, victories they were never allowed to celebrate. She listened, no longer as the filthy Mare, but as someone reclaiming her name by morning. She didn't feel small, she felt ready. The morning light touched the window. She stood near it, eyes steady, back straight. No fear, not anymore. He was making tea, calm hands, same rhythm. Like nothing had changed, but everything had. She knew her name now. She knew her blood. She knew why they hated her, because they were afraid of truth. His sound broke the air. Sharp mechanical doors locking, shadows moving outside. She stepped back. He was already at the window. They found us, he said. Her throat tightened. What do they want to silence you before others? Hear your story. The door buzzed. A voice came through. This is the Virian Security Force. Open now, surrender the hybrid creature. She is under arrest for unauthorized contact with a human citizen. She looked at him. I should leave. They only want me. Shook his head. They want you broken. They will never stop. He moved to a hidden panel on the wall, opened it. Inside a small case, weapons old but powerful. Take this, he said. She hesitated. I don't want to fight. You already are. The door cracked. Sparks flew. Smoke entered the room. She gripped the weapon, hands unsure, heart focused. They kicked the door open, armed, covered in armor, voices shouting, "Stand down, you are harboring an enemy of the state." He stepped forward, calm, firm. She is not your enemy, you are. They raised their weapons. She moved without thinking, body low, eyes locked. One breath, one step, one blast. She didn't miss. The room shook, smoke everywhere, screams, noise, and then silence. They lay on the floor, not dead, but defeated. She stood in the middle, chest rising, weapon still hot. He looked at her, eyes proud. You just became your mother's daughter. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just walked out the door, and he followed. Alarms blared in the distance. Sirens echoed above. They were fugitives, now hunted, but she had never felt so free. The city was no longer quiet. Skies lit with red signals, air thick with noise, metal birds flying low, searching. She ran beside him, feet fast, heart louder than the alarms above. This was not fear, this was fire, burning the chains she once wore. They took narrow paths through dark streets, abandoned tunnels, places only ghosts remembered. He kept checking behind. She kept moving forward. They reached the edge of the city, a broken wall. One jump away from freedom. Turned to her, breathing hard. Are you sure you want to keep running? She looked at him, voice steady. I'm not running, I'm choosing. He nodded once, and they jumped. The wild land outside was cold, wind strong, but the stars were clear. The stars did not lie. They found shelter in the ruins of an old station, walls cracked but dry. Safe for now. He sat near a fire lit from old wires and memory. She sat across from him, hands open, eyes thoughtful. Tell me, she asked, when did you decide to protect me? Moment I saw you push that child from danger. Why? Because only the brave do what's right when no one watches. Only the strong protect when there is nothing to gain. You reminded me of her. She looked at the flames, their dance soft, like truth finally speaking. You didn't have to help me, she said. He smiled. Maybe not, but I wanted to. Not because you are weak, but because you are worthy. Silence wrapped around them, not empty, full. She looked at him again, eyes deep, unblinking. You know what they'll say, a human and a hybrid. Together they'll hate us both. He leaned forward. Let them hate. I would rather walk with you in exile than dine alone in their palace. Her breath caught the fire in her chest, returned, but it didn't burn this time. It warmed. He reached into his coat, pulled out something small, a ring, simple, silver, worn. This was hers, he said. She gave it to me before she died. Said it belonged to her future, not her past. He held it out. You are that future. She stared at the ring, fingers slowly rising. No one had ever given her anything without demand, without chains. Until now. She took it, placed it on her finger. It fit, smiled. So did she, not wide, not loud, but real. He stood. We can't stay long. They'll come this way soon. She looked up at the sky, stars blinking like silent watchers. Then let them come, she whispered. We're not afraid anymore. The gates stood tall, cold metal, old scars. Behind them, the city waited, the same streets that spit on her, the same voices that cursed her name. She walked forward, head high, steps calm, not hiding, not running. He walked beside her, same pace, same fire. In his eyes, the news had spread faster than any patrol, faster than lies could cover. The girl they called Filthy Mare was alive, was returning, was not alone. Crowds gathered, first in silence, then in whispers, then in shock. She did not wear armor. She did not hold a weapon, but she had brought proof. The capsule, her mother's last words, broadcast across the city, played on every screen, echoed in every hall. Truth does not beg, it stands. They watched. The council panicked, guards hesitated. Too late. She entered the main chamber, the same place where her mother was erased. Now her face lit the walls. She stood before the high seats, eyes locked. No fear. You called her a traitor. You made me your shame. You tried to bury us both, but we rise. She raised her hand, and the people behind her raised theirs. Not fists, not fire, but unity. One by one, old soldiers stepped forward, old files uncovered, Old names remembered, the council had no shield left. One of them stood. Shaken, you don't belong here. She took a step forward. I was born here. You just forgot. They had no answer by dusk. The council was gone. The streets were quiet, not with fear, but with change. She stood on the high balcony. The wind touched her gently like an old friend. Below, the crowd waited. No stones, no insults, only eyes. He stepped beside her, held her hand. She looked down, then spoke. They called me filthy Mare. They stripped me of my name, but today I take it back. My name is Erin, daughter of Captain Alira, soldier of peace, voice of the forgotten. And today, you no longer kneel to fear. You rise with me. The crowd bowed, not out of fear, not out of law, out of respect. A soft light broke through the clouds, touched her face, touched his hand in hers. He looked at her. So what now? She smiled, small, strong now. We live.